Remember that whole thing, Emma, about Donald Trump is,
Anti-war?
Is anti-war. Now, we should also remind you, the amount of droning that he ramped up, even from Obama's numbers, dramatic. He pulled us out of no wars. Reminder, Biden dropped drones to almost non-existence. Got us out of the Afghanistan, and also Saudi Arabia. We stopped arming Saudi Arabia's assault on the Yemen.
Trump didn't just exceed Obama in one term with like the number of drone strikes. With Obama was in office for 2 terms. Trump exceeded it in 1, but he also removed that policy that Obama put in at the end of his presidency that had reporting requirements for those drone strikes and publishing the number of civilians that were killed. So we also have a less of an understanding and transparency on that front because of Donald Trump. I wouldn't call that anti-war.
And but we saw, all the libertarians and all the anti-war people saying that Donald Trump is the choice. I mean, we will get in the coming weeks to watch what Israel's going to do in terms of Gaza. I mean, everyone, we have documented, I feel like, as well as any situated where we are, on what the Biden administration had done in terms of encouraging Israel's attacks in Gaza. But with all that said, here I give you your new Secretary of State, not Secretary of Defense. This is just the one who's supposedly going to be diplomatic.
Diplomacy.
Yes.
Well,
was it a mistake?
That's not the same question. The question I was asked is what you know now. Well, based on what we know now, I think everyone agrees.
Was it a mistake? Was it a mistake to go to war with Iraq?
It was.
I'm asking you.
Yeah, I understand, but it's not the same question.
But that's the question I'm asking you. Was it a mistake?
It was not a mistake for the president to decide to go into Iraq because at the time he was told.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you.
In hindsight,
yes.
Well, the world is a better place because Saddam Hussein is not there. So I wouldn't characterize it. But I don't understand the question you're asking.
I'm asking you, knowing everything, as we sit here in 20.
But that's not the way presidents don't. A president cannot make a decision on what someone might know in the future.
But that's what I'm asking you. Was it a mistake?
It was not a mistake for the president to go into Iraq based on the information he was provided as president. Well,
all right. So that's his way of saying no.
Trump called it a big fat mistake in the debate stage.
But he was afraid of going against Trump. But we can. That was all the way back in 2015. I'm sure he is literally, he has changed his tune. In 2016, this is interesting. He uses the phrase "New American Century." Now, for people who have listened to this program for 20 years, you will recall that the neocons, Douglas Feith, Pearl, Wolfowitz, Cheney, et al., essentially had developed a whole worldview as to what America should do in the wake of the fall of the Soviet Union. And I think it was 1993, many of those people got together and created a document a document that was a function of a group called the Project for a New American Century. And what it called for was American hegemony to be maintained by allowing for low-grade wars all around the globe so that nothing could rise and sort of like aggregate into a force that would challenge American supremacy. But here's Marco Rubio. When he ran, he was running on, oddly enough, a new American century.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
now, it's possible he had not heard of Dick Cheney or Paul Wolfowitz or Douglas Feith or Pearl or any of these neocons.
Pretty small possibility.
I think Jeb Bush was also involved in that. He was sort of in the Florida area. Anyways, here is Marco Rubio in 2016.
So if you don't get a deal, what's the alternative? Do we have to go to war? Is it necessary to be absolutely certain they don't have a nuclear weapon or the capability to build one?
And I think that the best way to have achieved that is to leave in place both the unilateral sanctions and the international sanctions. You combine that with a very clear demarcation to the Iranian regime, and that is this: if you cross this threshold, you will face military action on the part of the United States. We don't want that to happen, but the risk of a nuclear Iran is so great that that option must be on the table.
So if it came to that, that would be an option that you would actually
absolutely
consider and use.
And let me tell you why. If we don't do it,
if we don't do it, who's going to do it? Israel's going to do it, I guess. The bottom line is that we had a deal in place in 2016 to inhibit Iran's, to the extent that they had any weaponized nuclear aspirations. Now,
negotiated by his office that he's going to assume pretty soon.
Exactly. And of course, that's not going to come back. And I think this is an indication of the likelihood of war with Iran has increased. This is not a dove that Donald Trump just picked. This guy was sort of like, I don't know, there's Batman and Robin with McCain and Graham, and this guy would have been, I don't know, not Alfred, but, some junior Robin, essentially.
And Trump, another war hawk thing that he did was assassinating Qasem Soleimani when he was president, extrajudicially, a top Iranian general. And the only reason that we didn't go to war with Iran was because, as we've seen now with Israel's provocations, Iran has decided to to take it on the chin, essentially, and they haven't escalated. But is it like with a more hawkish Secretary of State and the second time around, after all of the conditions that have been laid bare because of Israel's genocide in Gaza and the way that region has been inflamed, do I think that the possibility this time around for Iran to respond and drag us into a war, like that's just increased in terms of its likelihood many times over, it seems to me. Rubio is a hawk on everything. He's a hawk on China, too. That's a part of it. He's a hawk on Cuba. He pretends like his family came over and fled Castro, but people have done some research into it. Then it was actually during Batista when they came over, but whatever. He's a hawk on Venezuela. We're going to see a return to neocon style I mean, look, it's not even a return, but a retrenchment of these neocon style politics. And all that anti-war stuff, please.
Well, wait, don't take it from us. Don't take it from us. I want to play poker with this guy. Here is Dave Smith. We had him on the show, I feel like, years and years ago. I can't really remember.
In the old backdrop days.
In the old backdrop days. And Dave Smith, who basically sold out the Libertarian Party by, didn't Dave
He basically
Smith,
commodified the Libertarian Party and gave it to the GOP.
I mean, did he not? He supported Trump as
Yes.
opposed to his Libertarian candidate.
But nobody knows about Chase Olivier or whatever his name is.
I mean, that candidate was actually not bad.
The best on the border, I think.
But here is Marco Rubio. He writes, Dave Smith writes, Marco Rubio is a disaster. Might as well give Liz Cheney the State Department. Awful sign.
It's not a sign.
Sign?
It's the thing.
It is the thing.
Yeah, this is not a signifier.
No. This is a
Power.
Or it could be, I mean, talk about like desperately wanting to be a plausible deniability and snowed. I mean, this guy's such a mark. It's not a sign. Like, what do you think that, like, this is what we're going to do?
Yeah.
We're going to appoint little Marco as Secretary of State as a head fake, just to scare people, to make them think that we have a neoconservative policy, but I'm actually not going to do anything he says. I have been hitting the books and dug deep into this, and so it's a head fake.
This knife in my back is a bad sign.
Exactly. Yes. Here is Dave Smith sending out the word, sending out the bat signal to Donald Trump Jr. Just let me just see. Can I just check my watch here? Do we have a calendar up? This was, I know, 1 day ago, where Donald Trump Jr. said, Dave Smith was like, the Stop Pompeo movement is great.
They were really feeling themselves for 2 days when Pompeo and Nikki Haley, two people that personally offended Trump.
Yes, exactly. Right now, we need maximum pressure to keep all neocons and war hawks out of the Trump administration. They have had their time. Can we show more there? What else comes in? They have had their time, he said. Here is Dave Smith. And to be fair, that was almost 3 whole days ago.
Yes.
So life comes at you fast. But as we're pulling that up, we should remind you, it's not just... Here it is. They've had their time at the table and brought nothing but disaster to the world in this country. America first. Screw the war machine. And
You've got it, Dave.
And Donald Trump Jr. agreed. Now, I'm not as hip as Donald Trump Jr. What's the 100 thing mean?
Like 100%.
I'm joking.
I'm on it, he says. He says.
Agreed. 100, 100, 100.
We're good, dude.
3 exclamation points. I'm on it. But in the meantime, I also have to go join the board of a VC that is funding a company that funds all right-wing merchandising that my dad's going to be going out and promoting, not including our own, crypto coin meme or whatever the hell it is.
Well, I just can't even.
Yes. And so there you have it. And we should say, well, this is a bad sign because Marco Rubio, Mike Waltz.
Yes.
Another bad sign.
Is also
Security
another
advisor.
bad sign.
Yes. Wow.
He is, Mike Waltz is...
The writing on the wall is not looking so good here,
It's
guys.
not. I mean, Trump's really working overtime to throw everybody off the trail by appointing all these war hawks to these top positions.
He is a China hawk, a Green Beret.
Central casting, this guy.
He called for a U.S. boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing due to its involvement in the origin of COVID-19. Also, apparently, according to Mike Waltz, China mistreats Muslim Uyghurs there. Now, I would also imagine that Waltz also has a problem with Muslims in other parts of the world, though.
Yeah, he has a problem that they're putting him to camps instead of just bombing them.
Exactly. Well, at least you should know he was a policy advisor to Don Rumsfeld.
Oh.
I stand for several hours a day. How is a standing torture in Guantanamo torture guy? Yeah.
There you go. So, this is...
That's a real thing.
a real thing.
That's very bad. Yes.
Lou Stool, Emma's helping Sam finish his sentences today like she's his nurse. I mean, I need it. It's been a tough week all around.
In terms of my neurological capacity.
Yes.
Exactly. But I am going to enjoy the, let's play this clip from Mike Waltz. This is Donald Trump's incoming national security advisor at APAC in 2017, CPAC, and in 2017. And this is a guy who was mad that Joe Biden was contemplating or would ever contemplate getting out of Afghanistan. And here he is 3 years later, basically saying, We need to have people in there more or less like we've had them in Japan or Germany.
15 years in, yes. Are we in for a lot more fighting, and do we need a long-term strategy to undermine the ideology of Islamic extremism, just like we did fascism and just like we did communism? Yes, we do. And, Gordon, I think we're in for a long haul, and I think our nation's leadership needs to begin telling the American people, I'm sorry, we don't have a choice. We are 15 years into what is going to be a multi-generational war because we're talking about defeating an idea. It's easy to bomb a tank, very difficult to defeat an idea, and that's exactly what we have to do.
All right, just let me make it clear on what he's saying here. He is saying 15 years into the Afghanistan war that the global war on terror, started by George W. Bush and the neocons, was multi-generational. Multi-generational. Not it's going to take a generation, but multi-generational. And he is saying this 15 years into the war. This is a guy who is 100% on board with the global war on terror. Very, very excited for young folk to begin to hear this, this term again. Reintroduced by the Republicans who brought it to us in the first place. These are Donald Trump, and this is a failure of Democrats broadly, specifically of Biden, specifically of Harris as well, of the Democratic leadership, of our media. Donald Trump is unique in a couple of ways. He's a lunatic, like legit, I think. Also, he's sassy with his verbiage, and he will mimic giving a blowjob to a microphone in a way that a lot of politicians are afraid to do. He also is a good marketer and good at insults. And he's lied about his intentions in terms of Social Security and Medicare because he doesn't have any. He just knows what was going to sell on the campaign trail. They tried to cut it during his administration. He is a Republican. Republicans are him. This has been the case. Donald Trump did not fall out of a coconut tree. Donald Trump was born out of the Republican Party. Again, Mitt Romney went to New York in 2012 to kiss his ring, to get his blessing, not because he was some type of sui generis, very unique type of Republican. No, because he was one of the most prominent Republicans in the country. Him.
Birther.
He started the birthing thing, or at least gave it its sort of rocket fuel.
Most prominent, yep.
It was him. It was Rush Limbaugh. You needed their blessing to be the Republican nominee, even if you're Mitt Romney. The days of saying that, they're MAGA or they're this or they're that, they're Republicans. They're Republicans. There are no Dwight Eisenhower is dead.
Yeah. Mitt
He also
Romney
wasn't a typical Republican. He was a war commander that they recruited.
And Mitt Romney was vying for Secretary of State when he was kissing that ring. And Marco Rubio now being put up for Secretary of State. Is there a better avatar for this mythical, reasonable Republican than Marco Rubio? When you're doing that branding, that's the kind of Republican they could gesture towards. Yeah. And what do you know? He's about to be one of the top members of the administration. So exceptionalizing Donald Trump in that way, and this is exactly what you've been saying for so many years. It allows people to do what they did to vote him back into office, where we're seeing reports where people just went in and voted for Trump and didn't even vote down ballot in many of these swing states and in other areas of the country because he is seen outside of the Republican establishment, which is reviled in the same way that the Democratic establishment is. And that's what this entire never Trump Republican strategy that has come out of these last 10 years of him dominating our politics, all it did was further exceptionalize him and put him outside of the structure of the Republican Party. And it's nonsensical.
Put up that Libertarian tweet again, because this is the funny part. If, and this is again Dave Smith hearing about Marco Rubio, his reaction. I want his reaction.
It should be his latest tweet. Just click on his profile. Go back to the other. Scroll down. Yeah.
Marco Rubio is a disaster. Might as well give Liz Cheney the State Department. Awful sign. I will tell you that the only thing inhibiting Donald Trump from giving Liz Cheney the State Department is that Liz Cheney is a dime a dozen in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
She is also a Republican. You don't need to put Liz Cheney there because far and wide, when you look in the Republican Party, that's what you'll find. Period. End of story. And the pretending that they didn't know this is a joke. This is called brand protection. That's what this is. And it's a joke. I mean, give me a break. Donald Trump is not anti-war. Donald Trump is not anti-elite. Donald Trump is not anti-establishment. I still remember the day he won in 2016. He's walking into, what was it, 21st Club or 21st Club, putting his hand on all his buddy's shoulders and saying, I'm going to cut all your taxes. And I got news for you. He wasn't putting the hands on the wait staff's shoulders.
No.
They were all the people eating the escargot or whatever it is that they ate in the 21st Club or whatever that is.
Anti-elite. For some reason gets buried, but he was hobnobbing with Jeffrey Epstein. There are now recordings of Jeffrey Epstein saying he was a close friend of Donald Trump's.
From Michael Wolff, yeah.
So like for all of these right-wingers who talk about the elites and how they're all pedophiles and a part of this cabal or whatever, maybe take a look at your own dude. It's just incredible how he exists outside of the very structures that he's intimately involved in terms of like the way people perceive him.
Here is, let's play this too. Okay, this is really disturbing. Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.